Fairy Tales from the Fairy Trail, miles 69.3 to 109.4. The day after the storm, the mountains were cloaked in a dense fog. This white mist obscured the world save for where the trail was laid out right in front of me. In the midst, I could see the nymphs of the trees and clouds, the dryads and nebulae into the mystified wild. But I was not far down the trail when I came across a tree that had opened itself to the trail. Inside this tree was a wisp of light and smoke flickering nervously to the beat of the world. The dryad of the tree told me that this was a sprell, a spirit that would become a nymph. It just needed to find the rock, tree, water, or breeze that it would inhabit. However, the sprell was afraid of the fog and the creatures within it, and for good reason, because the more malicious things that lurked there, obscured in shadow and cloud, would do terrible things to the wisp if they could. So I agreed to carry the creature down the trail until it found its home. The wisp jumped onto my shoulder and happily flickered as we moved on. When something frightened it, it would hide itself in my hair until the danger had passed. When we crossed the border of one country into the next, we came upon a twisted tree within which lived a twisted man. He reminded me of Old Man Winter, only far more gnarled and not as wily. The twisted man warned me of the mountain ahead, and how the voices of the wraiths and snakes would tempt me to lighten my load by giving up them, the wisp. And indeed the path was steep, and the mist was thick, and the whispers of the fog were tempting beyond measure, until I stopped to obey. But then the wisp flashed brightly and warmed my skin, reminding me of my goal. We emerged into the sun, and life was full. The next day, the sun was shining, although the cold seeped into your bones, but the wisp had grown in size and shape so that it was the smoky silhouette of a woman, no longer than my hand. As we crossed streams, trees, rocks, and mountain laurel, she would shift colors to match them, until, when we reached the peak of the mountain, a cool breeze blew over us and filled us with energy. The wisp leapt from my shoulder and grew to the size of a tall woman. Her white hair blew in the wind, fading into the clouds. Her dress fluttered with 1,000 ribbons. Her skin was a shifting hue of all the colors of the sky. She smiled at me and thanked me, crying, "See you down the trail!" And I do hope to see her soon. It was a short walk from the shelter to the road where I would say goodbye to those of my companions who would not sacrifice their names. And all the while I thought of my impromptu companion, how she shifted colors based on what was around us. Clear bubbling light for the water, and solid brown and green smoke for the trees. But the form that suited her best was the one she took in the end, and I for one couldn't be happier for her. As now whenever a cool breeze blows over the peak to bring me relief, I know it is her, helping me down the trail. I stepped onto the fairy trail and stepped into a fairy tale, and though my name was lost to me, I found my path clear and free. So now there is nothing left to do but walk a mile in another's shoes, and hope to find what was lost to me, the mountain lord my way to keep, until I find my way back home, where I might live true and known, forevermore, forevermore.